If things do tend to turn around, say if Bitcoin crosses above the 44 and even above the 125 here, we could see a fourth and final leg to this bull run, but things have been quite bearish lately. We are sort of due for a bear market if the 4-year cycle does continue. So right now we are in accumulate zone. In terms of altcoin season, it is not altcoin season yet. We've been looking at Bitcoin dominance as well. So Bitcoin bearish at the moment. Ethereum has had a little bit of strength here when it briefly closed above the 44, but that was a rejection. I kind of want to throw the kitchen sink at Zcash here. Zcash is closed above the 44. The gold chart just looking nuts here as well, also sitting above the 44. So yeah, if I had to pick my favorite pair for a liquidity position right now, I would probably say Zcash versus gold because they're both looking bullish. Welcome to the show. This is the Moon Boys podcast. My name's Theo, and today we're just going to jump straight into the charts. So this show, we cover everything from Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, NFTs, stocks, and so much more. So thanks for joining. We do the show every week, and we're just going to jump straight into the charts, like I said. So here we have Bitcoin. This is our overall market indicator, right? So we're currently under the 44, the 125, and the 200. So we've entered into this red bearish area. And as you can see, we've been bouncing off the 44 resistance here over the last several weeks. So I sold my Bitcoin up here at 110 or so, around here. And then, so we've been chopping it down to about 87 today. So it may be a good time to mention that nothing here is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, just some guy on the internet. And it may be a good time to buy back into Bitcoin if it crosses back above the 44. But in my experience, there's just a lot of chop on the 44. So I actually do prefer the 125, which is this line here in turquoise. So I'll be watching that ultimately. So we've got the Moon Boys line here. And if it crosses yellow or gold, as you can see in the past, that would be a bullish setup. So right now we're in blue, we're in a bearish setup. So I'm going to keep hoarding cash and waiting for a flip into strength. And then hopefully by the bottom here. So I'm targeting this area down here between 40 and 50K. That's my ultimate target for the bottom of the coming bear market. If things do tend to turn around, say if Bitcoin crosses above the 44 and even above the 125 here, we could see a fourth and final leg to this bull run, but things have been quite bearish lately, and we are sort of due for a bear market if the 4-year cycle does continue. Let's go into the Bitcoin rainbow chart to start things off. So right now we are in accumulate zone, so potentially good time to be buying. I would like to see the buy or the fire sale triggered, so I'm going to keep watching that. But yeah, we don't always get what we want. Merry Christmas to everybody who did get Bitcoin at a good discount here. In terms of altcoin season, it is not altcoin season yet. It was briefly, maybe it was a fake out. Let's see. How long do altcoin seasons usually last? Not very long, it seems. They're usually a bit of a spike on this chart. And we've been looking at Bitcoin dominance as well. So I've got this handy chart here. So in the past, altcoin season was always characterized by a touch of this white line above 70%. So we never hit that on this current cycle. So we might need to have more Bitcoin season before the true altcoin season might start. So as you can see on the Bitcoin dominance chart, we are above the 44, above the 125, but still below the 200. So I tend to lean bearish on the Bitcoin dominance here. So we might not get Bitcoin season or altcoin season for a while. For me, I'm still looking at a bearish setup. I know the show is called the Moon Boys podcast, but we are going to be accurate to what we perceive to be cyclical cycles. We're going to do our best to provide what we think is the current market direction. So Bitcoin bearish at the moment. Ethereum has had a little bit of strength here when it briefly closed above the 44, but that was a rejection back down to Goblin Town, still sitting below the 44, just like Bitcoin. And Solana very similar as well, sitting below the 44. I would like to draw everyone's attention over to Zcash. Zcash is closed above the 44, so Zcash looks great as of yesterday with a closure above the 44. I kind of want to throw the kitchen sink at Zcash here. Of course, you can buy it on Binance Smart Chain, Solana, among other chains. So I might end up holding it on Solana. I think I'll probably take a small position and do like some liquidity providing between maybe Zcash and USDC, or even Zcash and gold. Because gold has been doing very well as well. So I have XAU, the gold chart just looking nuts here as well, also sitting above the 44. So yeah, if I had to pick my favorite pair for a liquidity position right now, I would probably say Zcash versus gold, because they're both looking bullish. We could take a look at stocks. I know it's a Sunday and the market's closed, but I have some Cipher here. So Cipher's sitting below the 44, but above the 125. So it could be dangerous territory for Cipher, but I don't mind selling covered calls on it here. For IRIN, similar setup to Cipher. So above the 125, below the 44, great place to be selling covered calls, in my opinion. MSTR has been a rough road for me lately. It's completely bottomed out here at 158. If Bitcoin is bearish and MSTR keeps going down, not necessarily the place to be buying or holding, but that's where I'm at. OpenDoor, very similar to IRIN and Cipher, so it's above the 125, below the 44. So I am selling covered calls on this right now. And then we have Tesla looking great above the 44. Tesla looking fantastic. All right, so let's jump into crypto bubbles on the daily. We can see CC, Canton Network, is up 13%. So let's take a look at Canton Network. What is it all about? Looks like a L1, because I'm not seeing any contract address here. Check a look at the website. Where finance flows, the power of capital markets meets the real value of blockchain. Unlock digital asset liquidity with Canton, the only public chain with privacy. So yeah, it is an L1 chain. I'm getting RWA vibes. And let me know how it sounds. We are live on Kick, X, Pump, Fun, and Twitch. And then we will be posting this video on YouTube afterwards. So thanks for watching. Cool. All right, let's go to the liquidity heat map. So I love to look at this one because it often tells you where price is likely to move. So I am seeing some dark green here at 94K for Bitcoin. So we could take a long, say maybe a 2x or a 3x long on Bitcoin here up to a target of 94. That could be a good move. So I almost want to make notes. So we're going to do a liquidity pool on ZEC versus gold, and we're going to do a Bitcoin long from 87 all the way up to 94 as a target. Then I've got the MVRVZ score. This one looking like potentially topped out here. If we were to draw a line from here to here down to here, this would be a nice resistance. So yeah, if we can come down to the green, that would be the buying zone. So I'm tempted not to dollar cost average here until we get down to this green. And I'd like to be holding as much cash as possible when we get down to that liquidity zone, and then back up the fiat track at that point. Let's see if there's anything else we can talk about. On DeFi Llama, we have topped out a bit at the previous level for all chains. But if we go to Solana, we actually did make new highs on this cycle. So that's strength for Solana. The same cannot be said for Ethereum. So we actually did put in a lower high on Ethereum on DeFi Llama this cycle. So the market is moving towards Solana from what we can see. Bitcoin was non-existent in previous cycle for LPing for DeFi. This cycle was the first Bitcoin DeFi cycle, as we can see here. Binance did not do very well with DeFi this cycle, and Base had a great cycle this time around. So Bitcoin's at 87.6, Ethereum's just shy of 3,000 at 2.9K, and BNB's at 860, XRP's at 1.85, and Solana's at 123. For Polymarket, I am all in on measles cases in US before 2026, outcome at 2050 cases. So we have 65% chance here. So I put in $200 on yes on this. Everything else is very low odds. So this seemed like a sure bet. I am just trailing Easy Eats on this one. So we can type in and see what Easy is actually in. So it looks like he's closed his measles position and he's sitting in nothing actually. He's got no positions open. So he must have closed his measles position early. and he's overall down 20,000. So I wouldn't recommend following Easy, but it is very fun. What else can we take a look at here? We got the Moon Boys token sitting at 3.79K. So thank you to everybody who's been supporting the Moon Boys token. On the top of Mobi Screener, we do see AI16Z, Zcash, Pengu, and MET. White Whale's been going nuts this week. I'm not sure what leering is. I've been hearing about leering. We could take a look at that. Don't know much about this. We could check out the Twitter. Oh, this is the Somali daycare center, potentially. Oh, they were supposed to say learning center, but they said leering center. Very interesting. Cool. What else do we got? Raise Roundup. So this is from a few days ago on the 26th. So the Boxing Day 2-day-old Raise Roundup. So we have, let me turn on the music for the breaking news. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Looking over at the Crypto Roundup, it is December 28th, 2025. We have vote to turn on Uniswap fee switch passes. Trust Wallet experiences hack after browser extension update. Users affected will have funds returned. I've used Trust Wallet in the past. Wasn't a huge fan, but I think I hold $6 on there. The S&P 500 sets a new all-time high on Christmas Eve. Silver sets another all-time high. Shouts out to all the silver holders and S&P 500 holders. A record 28 bill worth of crypto options expire today. BTC/USD1 pair gets exploited on Binance, resulting in 7 billion worth of liquidations. Binance, absolute scammers, as always. Russia's largest bank considers crypto-backed loans. RWAs lead all sectors in 2025 crypto growth. Lighter open sources its verification code. And U.S. housing market experiences largest gap between home sellers and buyers. That's all for today's roundup. Back to you in the studio. Thanks so much, Theo. Great job, as always. Do we have anything left for the show? I don't think so. So thank you so much for joining me today. I had fun. I hope you did too. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.